Welcome, guys, to the Hoffington Post. You know who I am. I am Theodore Hoffman, and today I am with this amazing man, Alvin Vernon. He's been an idol to me because he's been like literally one out of two people, literally, that I know as an entrepreneur, a business person, someone that's actually doing it from a very young age, probably from when I was a baby, to be honest. So it's an absolute pleasure to actually have him on the show. And today he's going to be going through some of his journey. He's going to help you with probably some tips and some tricks of what he's done that's actually enabled him to be where he is now. So, Alvin, I want you to take the floor and tell the viewers and the listeners who you are, and then we'll get into more of your journey.
Okay, well, first of all, I've got to say thank you, Theo, for the opportunity.
It's an absolute pleasure. You don't even know. Serious.
To be able to share my journey with your viewers. I'm, as Theo alluded to, Alvin Vernon, Wolverhampton local lad, a protege of the late 60s, early 70s. My journey is quite varied. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in my younger days sport, and I think being involved in sport is what has given me that competitive edge in business. And I read in a book somewhere that a lot of successful entrepreneurs also are successful sports people, and you've got to stay fit and healthy. But not wanting to detract from what I'm about. When at an early age, at the age of 19, had the opportunity to become a civil servant, and I was employed by the Department of Employment, but seconded to the Department of Trade and Industry in a government initiative which was created out of the inner city disturbances back in the 1980s. The then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and the then Chancellor of the Exchequer Kenneth Clarke, in an attempt to try to pacify the inner city disturbances in places like Handsworth and Brixton and Toxteth in Liverpool, created what was called an ICI, an Inner Cities Initiative Unit. And I'll never forget the remit. The mantra was to stimulate and encourage economic growth in the deprived inner city wards of. Now, there were initially 8 inner city task forces, and the success of those 8 led to the then government creating another 8, and Wolverhampton was fortunate to be part of the second 8 of inner city task forces. And the Wolverhampton inner city task force team that I was part of had a £1 million budget, and, as I say, a remit to stimulate and encourage economic growth in the deprived inner city wards. And in Wolverhampton, those wards were St Peter's, Whitmarines, All Saints, Blakenhall and Penfields. The strategy we used was employment, enterprise, housing and entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship aspect of the initiative was delivered through a government program which was called the New Business Grant, where businesses could get up to £5,000 support to kickstart their business venture. But what was unique about the New Business Grant that I was part of the administration team of was that not only did we give money, but we gave advice as well, because money isn't always what you need to be successful in business. What you actually need is mentor or a person who you can go to and ask you how to. So the mentoring aspect was just as fundamental as the financial aspect of it. And as I say, I got in at the coal face of that initiative, and for several years was involved in delivering, administering, and being involved in helping businesses get themselves established. Fast forward a few years, I think for me that's where the entrepreneurial seed was planted, because when you find yourself sifting through tons of business plans and photocopying them for panel meetings, and you discussing the pros and cons of these business plans and cash flow forecasts, it doesn't take you long to realize that there's a formula, and there's some sort of consistency in the content of these businesses that were successful as opposed to those which were unsuccessful and unsustainable. So we helped, like I say, a number of businesses get set up, and some of those businesses are still probably trading today. But for me, as a young civil servant, I always had a dream to be my own boss, and I have been involved in a number of business ventures, from nightclubs to ladies retail outsize shop. I had another company called the Classic Clothing Company, which used to provide care homes and nursing homes with clothing. And the most senior established business is a company I started in 1997 called Eurowash, which is a commercial and domestic bin cleaning service, and we're also manufacturers of bin washing equipment. That company is now in its 23rd year, and we have operations throughout the UK who have become established by means of a franchise style business, although it's not a franchise because we don't take royalties. In the early 2000s, I designed a machine called a Euro Washer, which was a product that I was fortunate enough to get an Coventry University Innovation Award to help to develop. And as a result of this financial assistance, the Euro Washer went into production, and it's the basis of the businesses which have been set up under the Euro Washer name. So these people are self-employed, and they do the same thing that Eurowash do, but they use the Euro Washer and they trade under their own trading name.
Cool. Amazing. So, like, starting off, like, looking at all those business plans, you just kind of found that fire and seeing what was successful, what wasn't successful, and being able to sift through that to say, you know what, I've been looking at so many business plans. I could probably make my own and see what works, and with what I know what works, implement that for myself.
Basically,
Yeah. Cool. So, what with Eurowash, obviously came a lot of problems or people that say that wouldn't work, and like going through those times, like how did it feel, and what did you need to do in order to keep pushing?
I think the hardest thing for me was trying to introduce the concept of something that people have never heard of. At the same time, the challenge of being a young black business person, the perception of the business for me was the most important aspect of building the brand. So I made sure that the name itself had a very generic sound, which couldn't necessarily be likened to any particular culture or type of person. And it was the name of the business, and what I find in, I suppose I'm sounding like a business advisor now. The name of your business has to reflect your business. So I had to think long and hard about the name, and what a lot of people don't know is when I first started Eurowash, the actual trading name I came up with was Wheelie Wash, because we were washing wheelie bins. But then after a short space of time, I soon discovered that the name Wheelie was actually owned by a bin manufacturer. So rather than risk being taken to court to using a name that I didn't own, I thought I was going to use a more Eurocentric name, and actually the generalized term that everybody knows for a wheelie bin is just that, and the proper name for a wheelie bin is a Euro standard wheeled container. So that's how the name Eurowash came to pass. And again, the image of the name was something that I needed to be quite clean and clinical, just so it resonated with my customers. We have a smiling wheelie bin as our logo, and again, that became quite a focal point of all my branding or my marketing. And most importantly, the quality of the service that we were providing. Consistency is key, and what I found a lot of my customers were skeptical about in the embryonic days of building the brand was, how long are we going to be around for? Because we're coming up with something that had been unproven, untried and untested, and in an attempt to win over customers, we had to prove, try and make good something, and we did it. Set myself targets, and within, I suppose, the first year of trading, the targets that I set for myself, I exceeded them. So by virtue of reaching those goals, I knew I was onto a winner. And then the rest, as I say, is history. We just kept building on the success, kept building on the reliability and the professionalism, and made the brand stronger, and basically proved the skeptics wrong, and the fact that after 23 years we're still doing it is a testimony to the brand and the loyalty of all our customers.
So in, actually, let me just double check this as well. So in the beginnings, like obviously you set things up, you have that rush to say, yeah, things are happening, things are moving, and when you get bad feedback as an entrepreneur, how is it that you handle it? Because some people are not great with rejections, with other people saying bad things about the service. How do you take that information, and how at first did you take that information and use that as fuel? Because some people see that as a negative and it puts them off, or some people see it as a good thing, or some people don't listen to the customers. But you are definitely like customer centric from what I've heard, but like inside from a mental place, and then also from a physical place, like you going and making the changes.
I think one of the when you start a business, you have lots of preconceived ideas and expectations as to where you think the business is going to be, and your perception of what you think the customers want. So the key to Eurowash's success was to get as many customers as possible, and the only way we could recruit customers was to go out canvassing, and that was the only way we could introduce households to the brand. I thought I could knock on 10 doors and get 10 successes based on my perception on how marketing works, and my belief that I've got a good thing here. You know, every house has got a dustbin, so they're all going to want their bins washed.
Yeah. That's the mentality straight away. Entrepreneurs are like, yo, everyone's got a door, everyone's got a house, everyone's got a bin.
So this is it. So, you know, you go out there with the clipboard, knock on the door, and first of all, you've got to remember we're rewind 1997. Now you've got to explain to the customers that, you know, we're starting a new service, we're going to be cleaning your bins, and the first thing they ask, is it free? They say, well, no, you got to pay for it all. And quite often the fact that there was a cost involved was, sorry, we don't want it. So yeah, I could find myself knocking sometimes 10, 20 or 30 doors, and it's all rejection. And then, you know, you would knock that one door and get that one yes, and you've probably been canvassing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But you've got to be true to the brand, and you've got to start servicing that one customer. And that's how we built that's how we built ourselves. After rejection, we didn't get although I did get despondent and disheartened, but the more yeses I got, the more enthused I felt. And then when we actually went out and actually cleaned that customer's bin, after a couple of visits, we then found that people on either side of the house or road who were initially saying no, they were then saying yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so there is a light at the end of the tunnel, you know. So, you know, we were able to convert a lot of people. And I didn't allow rejection to dishearten me, because there's a lot of streets. And you know, I'm a person who is very persistent and perseverance, and I had a strategy and I had a plan. So in answering your question, not being rejected was disheartening, but I didn't allow it to dampen my spirits. You know, tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
My glass is half full.
Yeah.
You know.
Great mindset.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, what would you say makes up an entrepreneur?
A willingness to be different. An open mind. Somebody with, you know, that fire in their belly. And lots of ideas. And if you put all those into, I probably missed out a few characteristics, but that willing, that quest, that's, you know, thirst. I think that's the word I'm looking for. That thirst for success. You know, that's what keeps an entrepreneur going. You know, that fire in your belly. You know, it's very difficult to pigeonhole an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur you have to be so many different things. But then at the same time you have to remember, as an entrepreneur, you've got to, dare I say it, fake it until you make it. You're not going to become successful overnight, but until you become successful, you are a success.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
And the journey is far more rewarding than the prize. And as an entrepreneur, you've just got to have a journey and have a plan and have a vision, and you just got to stick to it, and you just got to keep going it and keep going, and you've just got to live it on a day by day basis.
Cool. Love it. I like that one, because I had a podcast with a lady called Rebecca Malone, and she mentioned, like, you need to be that person, that successful person, that business person that you want to be. But a lot of people don't live in that person all the time. They live in either in that person of fear or discomfort, or they live half themselves, or they live the business constantly and they're not actually themselves. But you really need to step in the role of who you really are first, to enable you to actually get to where you need to be. And when you just says, you know what, you need to know that you're a success first, and you keep on going, and then that level, that successful feeling, or that success, being successful, you'll get to that, but you really need to know it first.
That's true. In my journey, I used to do business masterclasses, and one of the words which I associate with entrepreneurship is pride. And as a starter for 10, I always used to say, you know, if you're going to go into business, you've got to have pride. And P is for passion. If you're going to go into business, don't do something that you're not passionate about, because if you're passionate about something, it's not work, it's just a passion. So, you know, doing something that you love, so you're passionate about it. And again, if there's anybody out there who's thinking about going into business, if you remember this pride, it'll probably help you to be where you want to be. So we've established the passion. The next thing you've got to do is have real goals. I over the years have met so many people who have got ideas to go into business, and they say, "Oh, I want to become a millionaire within 6 months," or "I'm going to buy 100 houses in 2 years." You know, as wonderful and as you know good these goals sound, they're just unrealistic. So you've got to create some realistic goals for your business, and once you've created those realistic goals, you then have to identify the plans that you need to put in place to achieve those goals. And once you've identified the plans that you need to put in place to achieve those realistic goals, you've got to do it. I meet so many people that, I'm going to this, I'm going to that, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. 6 months down the road, you meet them again. Oh, did you do what I was going to say? No, I didn't get around to all this, all that.
There's a lot of people like that.
You've got to do it. And then finally, you've got to endure, because you can, if you're doing something and you stop doing it, you've stopped. So you've got to endure it. So you've got to be passionate, you've got to have real goals, you've got to identify the plans, you've got to do it, and then you've got to endure it.
Sounds like a great formula to me. Like, it really does. It's all of those things. Yeah, you just got to do it, definitely, and you've got to do all of those things. You got to have the passion for it, and I feel like with everything in the economy right now, everyone can do what they want to do. Really, everything's accessible. Obviously, using the internet or meeting with a manufacturer or networking and so forth. The opportunities are there. It's just you've got to definitely create it. You got to have that formula, like you just said. I think it's a very important formula for you guys to write down and actually put down on pieces of paper and actually just do those things. I come across a lot of entrepreneurs that just like want to just start and get it done, but don't end up doing it, because I say, like, what happened with that? But then there's a few that do it, and I'm super proud that they went and doing it and so forth. But I highly recommend that you write down just that pride and that formula. So what I would like to for the next step. So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? It's a good question, actually. Well, obviously the Eurowash brand will still be doing what it does. I would have liked to believe that we would maybe have some more owner-operators involved anywhere in the UK. So if there are any people out there that want to get involved in the brand, that'd be nice. But apart from my Eurowash world, I'm developing a space in Wolverhampton, which is a business hub. It's a space for creatives, and within 5 years' time, I'd like to see that space doing more things and being able to enable and facilitate entrepreneurs to be successful, creatives to be successful, because the digital age is now, and if you are a real entrepreneur, you have to be in tune with the future, and the future is digital, the future is creative. So the space I have in Wolverhampton is a space that I want to become more synonymous with, people who want to get involved in digital content production, digital content creation. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And like with mentorship, do you think like there's a few people I've spoken to about mentorship, and some people believe in it and some people don't. What's your perception on mentorship?
It's a wonderful thing. There is nothing better than to be shown how to do something by someone who has already done it. I myself, in my 25 plus year business career, have been fortunate enough to have shadowed quite a few good and great men, and they have taught me a lot along the way. I myself have mentored numbers of people, and I'm always happy to provide myself, put myself out there, to provide assistance and give advice to people who are not sure about how to do this and what to do, what not to do. So and my advice to anybody is, if you can get a mentor to help you, do, because two heads are always better than one.
Mm-hmm. So, with obviously we at the moment living in this pandemic, this thing that's happening. What advice could you give to anyone that's out there, anyone that's listening, to the audience, people that are listening or watching, to actually just get started within business? Because I think right now a lot of people are using this opportunity to just start and do something, do their own thing. And some of them are looking at it as like, I'm not going to get started because the business isn't going to work because COVID exists. So what advice would you give to that person?
Regardless of the pandemic and COVID situation that we are faced in, I'm going to give you this advice anyway. And this advice should be absorbed and taken in with an open mind. And it's probably more important that whatever it is that you think you want to start up in business as being or doing, you must do your due diligence and research. I can't stress enough that there are so many avenues of researching out there. So there's no reason why failure should be an option. If it's a product that you're going to be making or selling, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm sure you can compare and contrast suppliers. Make sure you get the best value for your pound, your dollar, your euro. Understand the marketplace that you're going to start business in, because there's nothing worse than being in an industry or a sector and you don't have the product or industry knowledge. This knowledge isn't going to come overnight. It's something which will come with time. But if there are professional bodies that are associated to the sector that you want to set up in, make sure you try and affiliate yourself to these professional bodies, because it's only going to elevate your status and make you look better. What other advice should I give you? Don't be fearful. Fear is one of the biggest reasons why people are unsuccessful. The fear of failure. It's better to have tried and failed than to not have tried at all. I've, over the years, tried numerous business ideas, and whilst they haven't necessarily been failures, I was able to exit from that business idea without there being too much of a financial casualty to myself. So it's better to try something and have the foresight and vision to see that if it's failing, don't get too passionate with any business idea. It is just that, it's a business idea, and don't let ignorance stand in the way of common sense. If your business is hemorrhaging money, when I say hemorrhaging money, if you're spending out more than you are getting in over a sustained period of time, that's just not successful, and that's just doesn't make sense. So have the wisdom to gracefully walk away and cut your losses, rather than find yourself in a greater financial negative equity situation. And as I don't be afraid to ask questions. It's like being at school. We've all been there. Sir or Miss has spent half an hour trying to explain Pythagoras' theorem or something to you, and then at the end they will say, "Does anybody not understand?" And you're that kid that's thinking, "I don't really understand, but if I put my hand up, I'm going to look stupid." Don't suffer in silence. Put your hand up, even if you look stupid.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge and that you're gonna get from being told what you didn't understand is far greater than the how would I put it, the disillusionment of not getting where you want to get to. So that's a couple of points there. There are so many pointers I could give you. And another good thing another point, something I'd like to advise is, maybe if, for instance, numbers is your weakness, do not kid yourself that I can do my own books, because if that's not your forte, that's not your strength. So don't be ashamed or afraid to ask for help in areas that you're probably not the best at. If stringing a sentence together isn't your best attribute, get somebody who is a bit more literate and to write your mission statement, or do things for you. Don't be shy in asking family and friends to help you. That's what I think is most important. Don't be shy when you're in business. Ask. There's always people out there who are willing to help.
So this is going to be the last question, and it's basically leadership. So what would you say it takes to be a great leader? Because I know when you have your own business and you get staff, or you need to outsource, you need to be able to lead people into the right direction, into the right vision. So like, what attributes does an entrepreneur need and for the leadership role? Because for myself, when I started, I saw myself as a leader, but I didn't understand the different skills and the different being able to step back and watch and nurture and like all of those different things. I didn't really understand those things. Well, I did, but that was the first time me actually experienced doing that role and actually being a leader. And I felt like there was quite a lot behind it when you're actually in that role. But you've been in that role and you understand it a lot more. I just like your perspective and advice.
I think the role of leadership is quite a demanding role. One thing I will say to aspiring entrepreneurs is, when you are leading or when you are at the front, it's a very lonely place, and being self-employed is also a very lonely place. Leadership takes strength of character. It takes somebody who is confident and a visionary. In order to lead, you need to be able to, in order to lead well, you need to be able to share the vision of where you are and where you want to be with the people who that is relevant to, be they customers or stakeholders or whoever they are. At the same time, I would also say that leadership is something that, as you do it more, you become more proficient at it. It's not something which, and it's not everybody has the mindset and skill set and temperament to be a successful leader. But what I have found about leadership is all the traits and skills that you need to be an effective leader. What is most important is the ability to communicate, whether it's to communicate to your customers, whether it's to communicate to your competitors, whether it's to communicate to your staff. If you're not able to communicate effectively, your leadership skills may as well be non-existent. And I believe that to be a good leader, you need to be of strong mind, and you need to have a good team around you, and you've got to understand and accept that you need a team around you to be successful. You cannot, as much as you believe you can do it on your own, it's not a single-handed journey. You may not directly employ people, but you may need to use their services or their skills. So again, being an effective leader, you have to be able to look and critically analyze yourself. And I would suggest that as an individual, you do a personal SWOT analysis. Write down on a piece of paper your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And in your journey, you try to reduce your weaknesses or turn your weaknesses into strengths and turn your threats into opportunities. And if there are weaknesses in any of the skills that you need to do that, you have the foresight to identify the weaknesses and the wisdom to try to build on those areas that you believe that you're weak on. And if you can't fill those gaps yourself, seek help and advice from agencies or people. There are people who can do administration for you, people who can do accounting for you. There are people that can answer phone calls for you. There are people that can do blogs for you. There are people that can proofread stuff for you. So like I said, whilst to be an effective leader, you have to accept and identify that you can't do it all on your own. So have the initiative to be able to outsource if necessary.
Yeah. Cool. And then wrap it up. Yes, Alvin, I think there was a lot of great insight into your journey, the tips and advice that you've given as well. And like even the things that you've said just kind of refreshed like how much I know. It's made me think, those are the things that I've been through, and more about, with other businesses, making sure that I have that framework and I'm consistent with it. Because to begin with, I just jumped in and I was just like, I'm just going to learn. And it's good to learn, and because now I know it, but also having a refresh from people like yourself, it's more like making sure that every single time that I do set up a business, I make sure that I go with the same framework to make sure that I can try and get to success and get the job done as quick as possible. Yes, guys, thank you very much for listening. I would like you to connect with Alvin. Alvin, how can the viewers and listeners connect with you?
You can connect with me by means of I'm on Facebook, Alvin Mr. V Vernon, or you can follow me on Twitter, Reggaetivity, or you can follow me on Insta, reggae.tivity, or you can just simply email me, reggaetivity@gmail.com.
Cool. So I hope you like this video, guys, and the podcast. And if you could, it'd be amazing for you to like, share with the entrepreneur that needs this advice. Leave a comment down below of any question. Myself or Alvin Vernon will get back to you, and definitely subscribe if you haven't. Thank you very much for watching and listening, guys. Take care, and I'll see you on the next podcast.